If you live in Florida and you own a home, you are well aware of the very high cost of property insurance, especially hurricane insurance, wind insurance, flood, all of that. You also probably realize if you've been here a while, after the hurricanes a few years ago, insurance cost went up, almost double. The governor and the legislature said to the insurance carriers, you need to give the homeowners a break, the property insurance a break, if they have done certain things to their house to make it more wind worthy and more hurricane proof, as it were. That's how this whole thing on wind mitigation, the state came up with this form, Uniform Mitigation Verification Inspection Form. Well, this is about the third rendition of this form. Well, when you look at this form, it really looks like pretty benign and it's easy to answer all the questions. How the insurance companies have gotten into it and have made it very complicated. So last year they changed it again. Last year, meaning 2011, it's been changed again for starting in February of 2012. I expect before the end of 2012 they will change this again. There was a lot of confusion about different inspectors looking at a house and saying a person got credit. A lot of inspectors were advertising they promised to get the homeowner however many thousands of dollars reduction on their insurance, when in fact no inspector really knows the exact formula that each insurance company has. Because they do change their formulas about how much they're going to give credit, having it done differently. All of the things that the insurance inspectors are telling you, they're very nice people, but in fact, it is there's too much variation about for any inspector to promise you anything. What they came up with last year, the state says only certified people that have come through, inspectors that have come through our office and we give them a license, can inspect the house for this wind mitigation. Because what happens is, suppose you just bought a house or you changed insurance companies, an inspector is required to fill out this form and give to your insurance company before they will insure you. Suppose your insurance would normally be $5,000 a year. If they checked off a lot of these boxes, then you might only have to pay $3,000 or $2,000. So you really got to break a discount of $2,000 or $3,000. So that's the reason why this particular form is so important. Last year, the insurance companies complained because they were mandated to take these inspectors, they're okayed by the state, their inspection form, and they didn't have any recourse. The legislature said, okay, what we'll do is we'll give you an out, and that is you can, being the insurance companies, can re-inspect or re-verify this insurance form to see how if everything is accurate. You cannot charge the homeowner again because they already paid for one inspection. Most insurance companies are doing, and of course just about everything with Citizens is already in the pipeline, is a re-inspection. All the other large companies will probably do the same. So just because you had one inspection doesn't mean, when you first got your insurance, does not mean you're not going to get another one, even though you don't have to pay for it. You do have to make your property available and be there, make it accessible, or else they can deny the discounts that they have given you. Remember, every discount you get is more money in your pocket. Let's go over this form. Of course, you'll see right here is just the name and address and the insurance company and all that. Then you have the building code. In number 1, this was a structure built, is when it was built and under what code it was. That's the Florida Building Code. FBC, that's the Florida Building Code. And this is Miami-Dade HVHZ, Hurricane Zone. On number 2 is the roof covering. Now what the homeowner's responsibility is to find as much documentation about everything that was built. When it was added on the permit application, this is a product approval number, the year of origination, installation. Like if you had a new roof, this needs to have the year, and this is the application date. Remember, the inspector can only put down what he can find or what you give him. You need as much information as possible. Now remember, even if you had, say you bought your house, it had a permit, say to do roof, to re-roof. So you got a new roof on there. So the inspector will just check online, but the only thing they're finding is the application date and the permit number. They're not finding all these other minute details that is helpful in giving you more discount. The more information you can give the inspector, the more discounts you're likely to get. It is not the inspector's responsibility to find every little tiny thing. It is yours as a homeowner. It is not the roofer's responsibilities, because remember, the roofers are going by the Florida Building Code. They're not going by insurance code, because they don't work for the insurance companies. They don't have to go by their codes. There's a lot of discrepancy on what the approved Florida Building Code is and what the insurance company is allowing, which is the real bummer about this whole matter. See, you'll see in all coverings listed above meet the Florida Building Code. However, the insurance companies do have latitude to ask you all sorts of questions that you don't have a clue about, that it hopefully is in your permit document. And even when it's in your permit document, they're not always finding it. Thus, you may miss some discounts that you were qualified for. This is the roof covering, like I said. And number 3 is the roof deck attachment. Well, the deck is, most houses are built with plywood, and then they put the roof covering on top of that. But it may not be that. If you get a new roof done, if you get new windows in, you make sure that you get as much detail about that roof or those windows as possible. Most everything has an approval number, and it's called an NOA, which is Notice of Acceptance, and it's given by DADE, a Miami-Dade Code approval. That's what it really is. It has a number. You just don't need just the stamp on, say you have hurricane shutters, and the shutters are stamped with Miami-Dade approved, but they're also asking for the approval number and when they were bought. The more you can keep, the better. The purpose of this video is to make sure that you understand, is to hopefully you're going to understand that the more you have as the homeowner, the better off you're going to be, and you've got to make sure the inspector sees it, copies it, or photographs it, or scans it or something. They can't always tell this by looking at your roof. They'll have to go into the attic and take pictures of the attic and take pictures of all stuff around. Now you'll go down to 4. Now, roof to wall attachment. You'll wonder, what in the world is this, toenails, clips, and all that? Well, your roof is attached to the walls of your house in some way or other. And these are the different ways, descriptions of how the roof is attached to the house. Believe it or not, a long time ago, they just put the roof and set it on the walls. And it's so heavy it just stayed there. And in fact, in some places in the world, that's all they do anyway. And in fact, there are even some places that the roof is, not the roof, but the house is set on the foundation and not attached to the foundation. You'll see in some of these tornado places that the house slid off of the foundation. It couldn't slide off the foundation if it's actually attached in with some sort of attachment. It's so heavy it just stays on that foundation. That's what they're talking about, is the roof to wall attachment. They'll want to how many nails were driven and what angle they were, whether it's double wraps, single wraps, and you won't know that. You don't have to know them. I'm not trying to say that you have to be educated on all things structural. You need to know, get the information. Geometry of the roof, the hip, flat, or other kind of roof. A hip roof was this kind of roof that all of the roof comes down to the eaves of the house and touch the walls of the house. All the roof. So there's no other roof that is now at a pitch, is not touching the side of the house, the wall of the house. If you have a hip, then it's much less likely to come off. in a hurricane. Then also they want to know if you have a flat deck or any other kind of roof thing you have. This other thing is secondary water resistance right here, number 6. They haven't been giving anybody the secondary water resistance, but you need to find out if you are at all qualified for that. They tried to for a while, the self-adhesive peel and stick. Miami-Dade code doesn't like, they don't like peel and stick, so it looks like there's not giving anybody this particular break unless you have one of two things, and that is the modified roofing underlayment, or if you have foam adhesive inside of your attic. This is not foam insulation, but it's a foam adhesive, and you should know whether or not you have this. In fact, there's a video on the same site that shows you this kind of foam adhesive as a water barrier. Now, the other things that come about in this, if you're going to get discounts on your insurance, is the openings. That is the windows and the doors, any kind of openings, including skylights, including garage doors, any kind of opening in your house, even the glazed or the glass blocks that you might have in your bathroom or some decorative. If it is on an outside wall, then it's going to have to be covered. They write all that down in the kind. They want to know if you have shutters, if you have impact glass, where are the stickers on the glass. Most people do not keep the stickers on their new impact windows. The stickers have the NOA number and the product, which is the product approval number. Most of us go around, we got new windows, and that's wonderful, and now we're just taking all the stickers off. And there's no way to document that we should really be getting credit for all this impact glass. Well, now we show the inspector that we really did have that done because we bought it and here's the receipt for it. But on the receipt it may not tell them the approval number. It doesn't tell them or maybe you even went and got it and had somebody put it in, or you put it in yourself. There's not enough documentation for them to give you credit or full discounts like you should be getting. You want to keep everything. Remember, it is your responsibility as the homeowner to give them and have all that information. It is not the glass guys, it is not the roofer's responsibility. You even call your insurance agent and you think that they know everything. Well, sorry, they do not. They know very little. I have found very few people as far as in insurance that know much about this, because in fact the insurance and the legislature and the government's always having a conflict. In fact, like Citizens, they have 3 or 4 major companies that they hire that do this inspection. They don't actually do it directly themselves. They hire companies that are now come and re-inspect your house. Each company that Citizen hires has a little different interpretation of how this is supposed to be, how to interpret this form. Even so, even inspector that comes from these companies interprets it a little bit different. I've seen so many different interpretations. It's unbelievable. I have seen so many because I've gone to classes on this thing. I'm not an inspector, but I've gone to all the classes having to do with inspectors. I am a Florida licensed contractor, so I understand what they're supposed to be finding, but there's too much confusion in this form for it to be really clear. The more the homeowner, you as a homeowner, have documentation, the better off you will be. It's supposed to be, you'll see it says qualified inspector down here, and this inspector, just because he has a Florida licensed a contractor doesn't mean that he understands everything that's in this form or how the insurance wants him to interpret it. This is an ever-changing document. It is more your responsibility as a homeowner than it is anybody else's, including the roofer who put a new roof, the guy who put new windows, your insurance guy, anybody else. This is just a little orientation to that. Good luck.